to see you. I heard you had to evacuate your home.
Yes, like most people I had to. I got lucky, you know, the winds moved, but, you know, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back in?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet, you know?
Yeah, right. I know. It's right.
Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean? And then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds? You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic?
How are you?
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in L.A. sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
I'm gonna be honest. As a Bill Burr fan, I'm very disappointed. The fact that you can talk like that, like, oh, look at these idiots, helicopters cannot fly. Of course not, Dumbo, it's the wind.
Let us investigate.
And there wasn't water. I'm like, how dumb can you be? My house is safe. What you talking about on the internet?
At that commission meeting, you said, it's dire. Someone will die.
It's eerie listening to your words because that's what occurred. So it's... Let me just take a minute. Sorry.
Fire Captain Freddie Escobar,
You're not supposed to make me cry.
35-year veteran of the Los Angeles Fire Department, wishes he'd been wrong. And this had not happened. For years, the LAFD union president warned that a disaster like the Palisades fire could happen.
This is a woefully understaffed fire department. We either going to have a fire department that's going to reflect 2025, or we're going to have a fire department that's going to reflect the 1960s.
A CNN analysis shows out of the 10 biggest cities in the nation, Los Angeles ranks 9th when it comes to the number of firefighters per resident.
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
And it shows millions of dollars in rescue equipment is just sitting in a lot, unused, because the fire department can't afford to hire the mechanics to repair it. LA's fire chief said in a recent memo, the fire department's staffing levels were half the size of what they should be.
First of all, we'll accept some blame, right? So at the LA Times, we endorse Karen Bass. I think right now in front, that's a mistake, and we admit that. So I thought it was very important early on for me to come out. And I think we were one of the few to say competence matters. We got like maybe 20, 23 million views to show how that was really dear to the heart of most people, whether you're right or left. And it's an interesting thing is that maybe we should think about how we elect people on the basis of, did they actually run a job? Did they actually make a payroll? Do they understand what it is? And rather than having professional politicians whose only job is really to run for office. There's nothing, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but I think we're at the stage now of the nation and the world, and there's many things we'll talk about even in healthcare, that you really need people to understand how it affects a man in the street, you know, how it affects the working type of person. And I think President Trump in this election has understood that, and he's become truly the Republican Party, as you said, has become the Democratic Party in terms of addressing the problems of the man in the street. So competence absolutely matters, and I'm glad that that's been taken up as almost a meme now, that competence matters.
LA Times owner Dr. Patrick Soon Siong, sorry if I butchered your name, it was a mistake for his paper to endorse Karen Bass, the mayor of LA that might have caused this management issue. Bill Burr says competent people should be elected, not professional politicians. Does that make sense?
A meme now, that competence matters.
Says, hey, competence matters. Suddenly being competent is a meme. As if suddenly Republicans are fighting for the battle that normally Democrats would fight. That doesn't make any sense.
Give me 30 seconds.
And Bass, I think every taxpayer in America, including those in California, would like to tie this aid to removing Newsom and Bass. Now, gone. Part of the deal would be, and I know Trump likes new ideas, here's one, not a dime until those two are whacked from their jobs. immediately. They are so incompetent, and all of the decisions they've made led to this, and they're still making mistakes. They're horrific managers. Whack them.
Karen Bass used fire department money to fund a queer occult interests, an Ebony Theater, and a trans cafe. So she had tried to slash almost $49 million from the Los Angeles Fire Department budget one day before the Palisades fire started. This came after more than $17 million in cuts the previous year. Okay? She didn't want to waste money because we're in a state that's under a constant threat of disaster. So what did we fund instead? What did we use that money for instead? Well, the budget resolution for 2024 to 2025 fiscal year shows some foolish spending. So there was a midnight stroll transgender cafe, which Karen Bass suggested a $100,000 slush fund, and that amount was fully approved by City Council. I saw a video today of just like 100 fire trucks sitting there that needed repair we could use. Thank God for this cafe.
2 years ago, Hurricane Ian demolished Southwest Florida. Immediately after the hurricane, everybody on the news was saying to rebuild the Sanibel Causeway, which is about 4 miles, was going to take 3 years. That's what everybody was saying. DeSantis basically had it rebuilt in a month because he brought all the best contractors down. He took everybody to the bridge and basically said, what do we need to do? We gave him our recommendations and he started making it happen the next day. That's proper, competent governance. We're just so not used to that. We're used to what you fled in California, an ever-growing state that taxes endlessly and punishes people for success. And then it's like, how is it that I have nice clean roads in Florida? How is it that we don't have homeless people? Why do things work with no income tax in Florida? And why does Cali tax the high hell out of you and have much worse services and much worse infrastructure and a whole series of other problems? So the government shouldn't do much. Everything should be dealt with at the state and local level. And then the federal government should have a couple things that they're supposed to do. So that would be border, make sure the states aren't warring with each other, interstate commerce, foreign policy. I would say the founders basically got it completely right.
And I believe the only reason they get things done is because they avoid overregulation. They don't use woke political points to defend themselves from failing, because when you don't have wokeness and DEI and all this stuff to avoid failing, you're never accountable.
Let me tell you something. She's got a spine of steel. Yes. And she's also been a black woman in America a very long time. So none of this is new to her.
Look at this. Look at this little wiggle. It's excited about the possibilities of speculators coming in. These people lost their homes. A lot of those people don't even have fire insurance because the fire insurance pulled out of California. Mm-hmm. I think like 69% of fire insurance pulled out of California because they're like, this is too crazy. You guys aren't doing jack shit to manage this. You're not clearing the brush. The amount of money they could have saved by just clearing brush, like filling the reservoir, that 11 million gallon reservoir was completely empty during the time of full fire season. Like, why didn't you fix that?
Yeah.
Like, it's all insanely mismanaged. And then this guy is on television talking about that, doing a dance in front of the burned down home that people used to sleep in, where their children would sleep in. Like, this is so disgusting. That's why I don't want to be governor. Their houses have been burned. All their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
I don't know. He smiles a little too much. I mean, if my mom passed away and you start talking like that, I'm like, hey, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, you're supposed to represent sadness. Look behind you. My mom is dead.
If we cut one position, if we close one station, if we close one resource, the residents of Los Angeles are going to pay the ultimate sacrifice, and someone will die.
Just last month, fire personnel packed an LA Fire Commission meeting, begging the city to rethink the budget.
These cuts came at exactly the wrong time, with calls for services at an all-time high and our firefighters at their breaking point.
We are straining our department's resources beyond the brink
and we cannot continue on this path.
City Councilwoman Tracy Park was there too.
There are large swaths of the city with no emergency response resources available.
Are we going to be having the same conversation next year and the year after?
We can't. We can't.
We heard from firefighters even on the front lines expressing frustrations about, obviously it's a challenge right now. They're bringing in firefighters from all across the western region. But can you address the criticism now over the budget issue and the slashing, $17 million slashing
I think
of the
if
budget?
you go back and look at the reductions that were made, there were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days. And
More
then there was a
firefighters on the
little
front
bit,
line would have
there
not
was a
helped.
little bit of confusion because money was allocated to be distributed later on, which was actually going to support salaries and other parts of the fire department that were distributed a little later. So I think it's most important to understand that we were in tough budgetary times, everybody knew that, but that the impact of our budget really did not impact what we've been going through over the last few days. Again, back to the unprecedented windstorm, when at such ferocity that we haven't seen in years, is the context in which we were dealing with it. Thank you.
So she's not accountable for anything, but even when there was warning that you're in the fire season, you still thought it was important to go to Ghana, do your thing, and come back. And when you came back while the fire was happening, you still didn't take responsibility.
Don't get me wrong, ako sa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde, kush, hash, purple, skunk, criollo, colombici, jam, jam, turlo, keta, verdeta, welcome.